Hey everybody, welcome back to the Advanced Kayak Angler podcast. Armando, you still got to upload the new promo video, but I'll holler at him for that. Kurt, what's up, dude?
Hey man, nothing much. How about yourself?
None. I was playing cards, like separating sports cards and Pokemon cards with my kid. Him and my wife are off this week, and I'm upstairs working from home. And yeah, it's something, but it's a holiday. It's good, man. Good to be around family all the time.
Oh yeah, always, man. How's that new home treating you?
Well, it's kind of our old house. We left and it didn't happen, so now we're back in our house. But I got all my stuff set back up, so yeah, even more organized than what it was before. So yeah, things
Nice.
are good. To be back in a home. Feels good.
Yeah.
So what's up with you, man? You've been out fishing, huh?
Yeah, I was just out today, man. I have just been fishing on the Ohio River and just got been chasing the spotted bass big time.
How big do they get? Are they smaller up there?
Oh yeah, yeah. The ones that are on the Ohio River are Kentucky spots, so they're really small. I mean, if you catch an 18-inch, that's like a 22.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
Still a lot of
I'm
fun
always
though.
happy if I'm 16.
Dude, I haven't fished in like 3 weeks. I'd be happy to be out catching anything right now.
Yeah, you gotta get you out, man.
Yeah.
Before that
Yeah.
weather really turns to winter.
Yeah. Maybe after this weekend, I'll be able to get out and hit some water. But all right, let's get going. This week we have on Dusty Yakker and Garrett Wade to talk about how to pick a trail, which ones to fish. What's going on, guys?
Hey, good evening.
So we've never had either one of y'all on the show before. We'll do some introductions. If people don't know who you are, Garrett, we'll start with you, the man with all the giant trophies in the back.
Yeah. I don't know how I ended up with that many. It's like I feel like I hadn't done that great, but yet I have a pile of metal behind me, so I don't know how that worked. I need to mix it up though. They're all black, so maybe I need a couple blue ones and a couple of Hobies back there that I need to work on. But
got a Bobcat back there.
I found that one on the side of the road.
Still bitching. I don't have a Bobcat.
It was up next to the Walmart. I was like, "Oh, cool, Bobcat! I need to go get him mounted." That's how I ended up with that. That's pretty cool.
But, so tell everybody who you are, man. Do you travel for work, huh?
Yeah. I work doing subcontracting for T-Mobile, so I travel kind of a little bit of Florida Panhandle, a lot of time in Louisiana.
But gotcha. Yeah, I see your videos or your Facebook where you're down in Mobile or everywhere else. I didn't know how you traveled around so much, you know.
Yeah. Most of the traveling's fishing, but we cover from Destin all the way through Louisiana, and for whatever reason, I'm never working in the Mobile area. But they always have me stuck in Louisiana, which is good because food's good in Louisiana. So I don't.
Is that where you're from?
No.
Oh, okay. You pronounce it right. I used to live over there, Louisiana.
Yeah, Louisiana.
Yeah.
Louisiana.
That's right.
Louisiana.
Dusty, how about you, man?
Hey, yeah. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. You know, Dusty Yakker. Been on the national kayak scene for 5+ years now, just grinding away. Looking forward to what amounts to a little break, I guess. The season starts right up again, if you ask me, in a blink of an eye at the end of January. Full-time kayak guy. You know, the ins and outs, the highs and lows, and then that's pretty much that.
Yeah. And it used to be a teacher, right?
I did. I was a teacher for over a decade, just outside of Chicago here by my house. Yeah, that was quite the grind. Speaking of grinds.
I believe it. Just got tired of dealing with them little bastards and said, "No, this is over."
That's actually the truth. You know, it sounds cliche, like we could laugh it off, but yeah, I got tired of that scene. After a while, I mean, it went great for a while. In all seriousness, it went great for a while, but last couple of years there were a struggle, and I kind of knew it was time to get out. And there's really no regrets.
Yeah, okay, man. Nice. Well, thank y'all being on. Kurt, where do we even start this? It's hard. I was thinking about trying to find a starting place of how to have this conversation, and I don't even know.
It is kind of a hard place to have a starting point because, I mean, where does anyone really decide to pick to start doing national trails? Like on a regular basis, not just like, well, there's one 3 hours from my house. I'll go check it out. A couple of my buddies are going. But when do you make that decision like, hey, I'm going to hit them all, or I'm going to hit 7 or 6 or make a schedule of some sort? I mean,
Well, Kurt, it's kind of funny. You and I have that experience with the fact that when you consider national trail, several years ago, it was pretty much one. There was one national trail you considered, and now there's tons. We have so many options. So we're sort of in a different kind of, pickle, if you will. So with that being said, with like so many different options, like you were just kind of getting into, obviously finances, time, what you do for a job, what you want to do versus what you think you can do. And, I guess what you're willing to bite off and chew,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, honestly, my very first kayak tournament was a national tournament. We were at Lake Eufaula camping, and somehow I found out they were having a Bassmaster kayak event there. And I didn't even know that was a thing. That was like 3 years ago. And I was like, well, daggone, I'm going to come up here and fish that one. I mean, I fished Eufaula a few times. I'm about 4 hours away. And I went up there, came in fourth. And that was all the hook that I needed to just jump in with both feet and just go for it,
That's pretty good for your first tournament.
Yeah, heck
yeah. I mean, I've
Fourth
done
place in a Bassmaster. That's pretty good, man.
That's really good.
Yeah. I mean, I got on a good shad spawn bite, and I had my 4 fish in like 16 minutes. And then, as everybody knows, with a shad spawn, it just died after that. And about 1 o'clock, I finally picked up keeper number 5 to sneak me into that 4th place spot. But yeah, I missed a blue trophy in my first tournament by like half an inch.
So Garrett, let me ask you, were you like prior to that, were you like active on social media? I mean, had you had a social media account just as a person for a while, and had you been aware of like the kayak scene and like kind of what it had been doing prior to that?
No, I had no idea.
Oh, nice. Same with me.
Yeah. So I bass fished like in my early 20s in a boat. And then life happens. I had a landscaping business and
sure.
We had our first kid, and I kind of had to step away. And I took about 10 years. I didn't fish at all. Concentrate on work, just doing the family thing. And then about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, it's like, well, I need to get into fishing again. We have a lot of brackish water, a lot of salt water here. So I bought a bay boat and did that for a year or two, and then bought an offshore boat, and we snapper fished out of that for a summer. And it was a pain to find people to go because I always like to go during the week.
Gas.
Yeah. Or just to launch a 24-foot boat. It's not something you want to do that and go 30 miles offshore by yourself.
Totally.
So I found there was a local kayak club, Mobile Bay Kayak Fishing Association. They did mainly just saltwater stuff. And I was like, I'm selling my boat and I'm buying a kayak, and I'm going to fish their little local stuff. And I did that. And like a couple months later is when we took that camping trip to Eufaula and found out that there was actually like legit bass fishing out of a kayak. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So that's that's the first event that got you started. But when was the decision to chase a national trail? To do more than one.
Yeah, so I fished that one, and I was like, well, that was a lot of fun. And then they had another Bassmaster that same year at Pickwick, and that's within driving distance. So I went and fished that one. I cut a check at that one too, and then
I squeaked out a check in that one too.
I squeaked out a
Barely.
check. Yeah. And then I found the online KBF state challenges that I didn't know that was a thing either, and was like, well, this will be cool. I can just go fish when I want, pretty much where I want, and did really good that like 2 months in a row. And I was like, well, crap. So I got looking, and like they had a whole AOI schedule and stuff where you had to like fish a certain amount of tournaments. So I was like, well, I need to, fish one more of these, and they had the Weekend Warrior at the time, so I need to fish one of these. And And then I ended up like with three. I think I had like 3 first place and a second place, or something along those lines. And so I was like, well, I guess I need to go fish the championship at Caddo, and went out there, pre-fished for like 3 days, and I had a great tournament. I came in 4th place in the challenge series. I think it was like, man, that was like 250 people in the challenge series of that tournament, and there was like 350 signed up for the actual national championship, and I came in 5th place for that.
Wow.
That was kind of after that. That was my first year kind of dabbling in it, and so the next year I was like, well, I'm just gonna go for it and just fish as many tournaments as I can get away with.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a long break in between fishing and then kind of reemerging into fishing too. I got into it at a young age. Ed got into it when he was what is now my age. And, we enjoyed some of the early Midwest Bass Association and Redman stuff in the region. And, we really got into it. But then he kind of lost his passion. I was getting older and, graduated high school, got job and basically fell out of the bass fishing world. Totally, kind of, except for like weekend pursuits or like camping trips when I would just kind of like dabble with a couple rods or whatnot. I mean, I didn't follow like the tournament scene or like the lures or anything like that for like 10 to 15 years. And then
same here.
I got a kayak, and then I met somebody, and somebody told me all about that stuff, that online stuff, and then I found all that stuff, and then immediately had success locally for a couple years, and then of course resigned from the job, and then had the resources and the time to even entertain doing it nationally because it was kind of difficult with the job. So that was pretty much that. I mean, I didn't really think I'd sort of last this long at it, but here we are ready for another season here in 24. So it's cool that way.
So now that y'all, you've obviously experienced guys, been doing it a while, got the trophies to show for it. What is the ultimate season for you? Like, if you could picture a year and the best it could possibly go, what is that? Is it Angler of the Year? Is it, going like, because I think about it, like strategy wise, how does it help me the most? Does it help me to catch a limit? Does it help me to just go for the win, to go for the big fish, and all of these things? Like because I'm going back. Last year I sat out. I just fished locally. Next year I'm going back to fish national stuff, and it's like, do I fish a mix of events? Do I go just for Angler of the Year? Do I just try to win events and not go for the limit fish? Like what?
Well,
what's your strategy for 2024? I guess.
Well, I mean, I can certainly speak on that personally, but I think most people listening are probably, I mean, I'm not quite sure, but I think most people listening aren't in the, in the luxurious position to be able to attend a lot of national events and even entertain something like Angler of the Year. But with that being said, that is absolutely my goal. That's pretty much been my goal since I know that kind of award exists, Angler of the Year. I mean, number one at the TOC or winning. I mean, of course, that's awesome, and that I to set my goals to. But come what may, when I get to a tournament, I'm not sort of strategizing about too much, really. I mean, the big picture is to get your best 5, come lines in, and the next day get your best 5 and let the cards fall. But Angler of the Year is absolutely the goal, and this year. Cool. Yeah, this coming year looks good because for me, really, I love what Bass did with their schedule, having 5 spread out. The Hobie schedule looks great, but it's kind of crammed up top, even difficult for someone like me, going from the Harris chain to Sam Rayburn a couple weeks later, I believe. So there's a way for me to kind of get my feet wet in another organization and still make my my aim as Angler of the Year for Hobie 2024. Of course, getting as high as I can, qualifying for the TOC and finishing as high as there. And I would like a shot at doing the Bass Angler of the Year as well, and trying to attend at least 3 or 4 of those 5. So for me, that's great that those 2 exist.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are just happy to hit 3 events.
Right. Well, and with AOI,
for sure.
helps on both trails this year.
Wait, say that again, Garrett.
Only having to do 3 events for AOI makes a big difference.
So did Hobie go from 4 events back to 3?
Yeah,
they did.
Yes, they did.
Oh, okay. Yep. I didn't catch that. Well, that's, I mean, hey, it is what it is. So, if you can't make event, or if you bomb
that's kind of the
events,
that's kind of the nice thing about with our national trail schedules are set up, is that even if you are working a job, if you can find a way to do 3, you got a shot. I mean, you're gonna have to make those 3 count, but you got a shot.
Totally. Yeah, I guess if you can, obviously you consider your time and all those things and make as many adventures as you can. But I mean, I guess another factor maybe that would be, interesting to talk about is, the mental thing, the intimidation thing. I think a lot of people sometimes are hammers and can compete just fine. Maybe they think they can't compete, or maybe they think they should stick to the local trail because of for competitive reasons or something like that. But I mean, I would sort of squash that. I mean, just as long as you got some rods and you can make some casts, you get out there and get on some lakes, and you never know what could happen. But
seriously, and that's real too. 3.5 years of podcasting, just the top 3 of winners with paddle and fin. There's a lot of people that win that are not like your everyday, like y'all two. They're, a guy up at Cayuga who wins them out of a canoe
for sure,
fishing a big chopo. It happens all the time.
We're on the theme of accessibility, and kind of like how we consider it, we know our viewpoints, but just in terms of just accessibility for people. I mean, you can, there's success to be had for people that might have reservations one way or the other.
Yeah. So this is, and I don't mean to, this is kind of the tough part of having this conversation is how do you find the best return for your money? Is it, I don't mean to separate it out by bass and Hobie, but is there a way that, because Hobie is, I still to this day, I think everybody thinks at TOC that, that's the most prestigious event to get into, but maybe there's a little bit better return on investment if you were to win a bass event with sponsors, because it ties more into the boat side. Are there any considerations there?
I mean, for sure. I mean, I have personal perspective, but I'd like to hear from Garrett because of course Garrett has a full-time job, and like when you say things like return on investment, I mean, we're literally getting into finances and money. Kurt and I might have more of a similar situation. I'm not sure, but Garrett has a full-time job, so I'd like to kind of hear from him because his perspective might be a little different. I mean, it might be, for example, not as important for him to get a top paycheck as it might be for me, coming up this year. So, there's difference that way.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely wouldn't be fishing if I couldn't afford to swing it. I wouldn't probably put myself in a position to show up to one needing to cash a check to be able to go.
Well, certainly not with a family.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I've got a wife and 2 kids.
Yeah. A little different of a scenario there.
So yeah, I mean, honestly, that's probably my biggest, I mean, I'm pretty flexible with work. I can fish most any event that I want. My biggest thing
Great job.
Yeah. I mean,
kudos.
Subcontracting, you just kind of, sometimes you're really busy and you really don't need to, disappear for a few days. But for the most part, I can, work really hard for a few days and they will never know I was gone. So, it works. It works out like that. But I mean, my biggest deal is, juggling family time and the fishing. My wife's pretty good about it. I mean, I think as long as I don't get more than about 1 a month, she's pretty cool about it. When I start getting, when you get one at the beginning of the month and the other one's the end of the month, but they're still in the same month, it's like, well, wait a minute, you already fished one this month. I'm like, yeah, but
I have
next month.
Yeah, no. I have a trooper. I have a certified tournament partner in Maria. But getting back to your question though, the ROI, just try to make the event try to get top 3. Hopefully there's a lot of anglers and hope that check's pretty big. Certainly qualifying for something like the TOC at the end of the year for, a big chunk like 30 grand. I mean, of course, that's a consideration.
Yeah, championships is where you make your money.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
So in terms of return on investments, I don't know. Try to get your gear for a discount. Try to beg, borrow, and deal. Try to pinch a few pennies, and try to collect some checks along the way. It's really you can't. It's an interesting question because in our space, in this whole line of work, those results aren't guaranteed. You can work your ass off like I have. I mean, and it's hard to come by wins. So.
Right.
It's hard, it's hard to calculate that investment. Like, hey, I'm gonna work 20 hours of overtime this week. No, it's not like that. So, like I said, it's an interesting question like that.
So playing off of Dan's question, is it all about return on investment, or is there another aspect that drives us, everyone that's doing these national events, to do the national events?
Absolutely.
Because I know for me, I don't really think about it in return for investment. I'm really just thinking, where are the best anglers in the world at, and how do I get myself in that mix?
Well,
I'm not really thinking.
That's
I'm
your
not
return,
really,
though. Not money.
That's my return. Exactly.
Totally.
But
yeah.
It's not the financial end of it. So it's kind of interesting to hear, like, your perspective, Dusty, seems to be very much like, how am I going to make my money back? You're counting on the paycheck from events.
Well,
I'm not
counting on it. It's one sort of the perspective, but it is big. I mean, you wouldn't be mistaken in that regard for sure. It's certainly something I have to consider.
Yeah.
I mean, I think most people would probably put finances as one of the things they consider in even the discussion of a national trail.
Yeah.
Right.
With gear, with inflation, with gear, with gas prices, and
it's $1,000.
Yeah, for sure. So it's not anything we can bat an eye on, but it's good that you bring that up too, because there are, there's tons of other, areas of return, if you will. And I talk about that often in my social media stuff.
Yeah, fishing amazing lakes is a big return.
Man, seeing America.
I want to fish there. Ooh, I want to fish there. That looks like fun.
Totally, man.
Yeah. That's kind of how I pick and choose.
Being happy.
Yeah.
I'm the same.
That bass trail this year too. I think Steve made the whole trail is just, where can people catch the biggest fish all year long? Like that trail. I mean, Hobie is awesome too. There, Harris Chain, that's like one of my favorite places to fish. But that bass schedule, it's like going to be big fish every single event.
Right. Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They're all. I mean, all the trails this year have a really good schedule. I mean, it's just a matter of picking. I'm a fish a couple of each one. Try to fish enough to qualify for championships and all of them. But that's kind of my goal, is to fish 3, the most 4 of any one trail, and pick them that are semi close to the house, and work out in the 1 a month allotment that I'm allowed to go fish.
Yeah, I want to do 5 Hobie and try to do 4 of the bass. That's pretty much the general goal right now.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna mix a couple KBFs in there, see how that goes.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I haven't even looked at their schedule. I don't even know where they're going.
Don't they have a trail championship in April this year or something like that?
No, so they split their national championship away from the trail championship. So they'll have the national championship in April.
The national championship in April.
Yeah.
Is that on Gunnersville this year?
It's on Gunnersville. Yeah, pretty much all of it's going to be on Gunnersville for a little while, until
it's a good place to have it.
Things get better and he can start moving around again.
Yeah.
But
and whenever you're sponsored by visit North Alabama,
it helps.
You're going to have a lot of events there.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're gonna, have a place that's going to get behind you, at least you got a good place to get behind him.
Yeah, that's like it's a great place.
Hard to beat.
They have big pockets up there.
Yeah, and good places to fish. You can draw people in.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think KBF has got a trail series at Murray the week after Bass is there, and then they got Gunnersville, Santee Cooper.
Thought I
and
had a
Chickamauga.
screenshot of it all. Yeah.
Yeah, here.
These places.
Yeah, it's too wild to memorize. I have to like look
Aren't
at
they
it
going
about
to
80
St. Clair
times
too?
a year.
I think they said they have a northern place they're working on, but I don't know if they've said what it's going to be yet. It's not like official.
I'm hoping someone has a good event in St. Clair because Bass and Hobie aren't on it. So it's like,
Yeah,
Right.
I need the excuse to go up.
totally.
Yeah, there's
I
a
like-
couple northern places I'd like to go, but I mean, being in Mobile, it is a long drive anywhere up north.
Oh,
Yeah.
boo-hoo. Like we got to drive down there all the time, man. Yeah, all the time.
I'm spoiled, man.
Well, it's funny that, 4 or 5 years ago, a 14 or 17-hour car ride would have just been like, just insane, almost out of the question. But after you do it a few times, you sort of
Right.
become, you stagger it, you break it down, you understand the reality of it, and you become desensitized to it. So, but that's certainly a reality.
Yeah. My deal is tacking on 2 days of driving on the front end and back end of a tournament. It just makes
Oof.
it takes
That
that
makes
much
it
more
hard.
time on work. So
Yeah.
hard that
Yeah.
you can only like go hide for so long before the play. Where's he at? You know?
We're always accessible. There's not too many
Yeah,
strips,
yeah.
not too many strips of road where we can't be called or
Right.
texted.
Yeah, but I work by myself, so if I'm not actually physically doing something, there's no production from my end.
Yeah. Well, we do spend a lot of time on the road, and I think about that often actually, and there's interesting ways you could spend your time on the road, and there's a lot of resources, a lot of information. I mean, you could just so much cool shit to listen to. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
YouTube videos you can learn from. I mean, there's just,
Yeah.
I mean, not to mention like audiobooks and things of that nature, or even
Okay.
like calling people, talking to people, like investing in relationships and stuff. So much time. It's not just driving. I mean,
Right.
it sucks a little bit. Ask my back, but there's a lot of cool ways to look at it as a time. You have some time there.
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot
Mhm.
of podcasts to listen to.
Yeah,
There's a lot of those.
Yeah, for sure.
There is a lot of
There's
those.
a little too many,
A lot
man.
of
A little too
those.
many. Hard to find a good one.
The Garrett, I was thinking about there's not like a real good local freshwater scene down there. Are y'all going fishing local trails this year too, or like kind of? I know you have like Georgia Bass Nation and
Right.
Mississippi. They I think Brad Case he only did one event this year, but there's a lot of like regional tournaments, All American. I guess that's that's to me because it doesn't come close to me. I think of it more regional, but I mean they fish such a big area. It is a national trail.
Yeah.
The are y'all going fishing of those as well, or is it just kind of focusing on national stuff?
No, for me, it's just the big three takes up enough time
Yeah.
that I don't really have
You're
time for
one
like
event, one event a month.
Yeah, we got a local club that just started up this past year.
Do you?
Mob Town KBF, I think is what they call themselves. But I fished two of those this past year. My son's 11, so he's getting into it a little bit. So that's something where I can just drag him along. We can go fish, and it's the competitive part for me is not a big of a deal on those. So we'll go knock out a couple of those in a year. If I'm home on a weekend and I got time, it gives him something to do.
Yeah.
But I drug him up to New River this year. So he pre-fished
Okay.
3 days and fished the tournament 2 days at New River this year. So that was interesting with an 11-year-old.
Yeah, 11-year-olds they don't make real good float partners because they can't you can't put their truck down at the end and
No, I had to pick a spot and it was like this is our spot, and we tried we had to decide on rapids was a bad idea after the first day of practice.
It's a nutty place. I remember talking to you down there.
Yeah, there was one I was like, well, that doesn't look too bad. And like a nice long float after that, we can come back up and just drive back up. And I picked a spot, and I'm not a whitewater guy. I've never been on a river that had any kind of rapids or anything. So
Oh, geez.
I'm looking and I'm like, yeah, that looks like a nice, fairly, clear spot. And of course it was clear because there was no water in it.
Oh.
So I'm like, well, just stay right behind me and just don't stop. And I make it about 10 foot and I just bottom out and I'm sitting there and I was like, oh crap. And he comes beside me and of course he doesn't weigh anything. So his kayak's like literally like this much in the water. And I just push him and I'm like, just keep going. And he runs down there and he gets past the main rapids and he's like, yeah, I did it. And he knocks the little magnet off of his Newport and spins around backwards. He's floating down the river. And the last rock, there was 2 big rocks at the very end of the rapids. And he ended up hitting it and had the front of the kayak on one rock and the rear end on the other. And water was just running under his kayak. And I had to wait out there and drag him off of it. And I was like, okay, but no more rapids for us. This was a bad idea.
It can get hairy quick.
Yeah.
In moving water for sure.
Yeah, it was. The Lord was looking after us on that one because that was definitely a boo boo on my part.
So Dusty, are you doing any local tournaments?
I don't really have my eyes on any. Specifically, there's always some interesting Michigan kayak trail events that come up that like when I look at the schedule, when in January, February, when it comes out, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to do that. And then, if it falls like right next to or right after a national tournament, the likelihood definitely drops. I hope what I really wanted to do this year that I didn't do that, but I really wanted to was the what's it called? The no limit
No limit power hour.
Yeah. It came to Saginaw Bay, I think a couple years ago. Did it come to Saginaw Bay last year? Is that Saginaw Bay this past summer? I believe it was.
I think it was.
They had one in Saginaw Bay, and I know Hobie's coming to Saginaw Bay in August. So I'm hoping they do that. I would like to kind of, scope that area out a little more. Hopefully, the weather dies down for that because some offshore smallmouth, if the weather allows for that, there's some awesome smallmouth there. But I think there's also some surprisingly big largemouth in the marshes and the river section too. So, whatever. So to answer Smitty's question, that's, something I'd probably focus on there. We'll see when MKT's schedule comes up. Maybe hit a couple of those.
Trying to find that KBF. There it is. No, it's 2023.
Trying to find some schedules.
The KBF one.
Yeah.
KBF one's hard to find, man.
I thought I had a screenshot of them all. Somebody posted an Excel spreadsheet not long ago with all of them right there on a screen grab, like most of the big ones, and they're all color coordinated and beautiful.
Does that?
Yeah. I tried to grab a screenshot of that, so I'm like, thank you. I don't know. I never get around to doing that for sure.
Yeah, I've got all mine in my calendar, so I'm like, I have to look through. I got them all color coded.
Oh, jeez.
That's exactly what I do.
just for me to organize my tackle is enough.
Yeah.
Putting shit in a spreadsheet, man. I can't do that any longer in my career. I swore that off.
I put all my events like green, yellow, and red. Like one's up on a fish.
Shit. I'm looking at your shelves behind you, and like I can see all the organization. I'm like, oh
yeah. There's a reason I'm not.
Some people are organized.
Like that.
It's just because we just moved back in. Usually it looks.
No, I'm just kidding.
But I am a spreadsheet guy. Like I have to have all my.
Hey man, it's
my baits and all. Yeah, it's
organization is a form of control, man. More power to you, brother.
Oh, fishing. There's no control.
Really?
There isn't much.
Nah.
You will eat my jerkbait.
So, like, wait, is there a Dusty? One of you were talking 14, 17 hours. Are there some events that you're just like, it's too far?
For sure.
Unless it's a championship. I mean, is there like you are not going to Florida?
You said it. Unless it's a championship. I looked at the schedule. The one coming up. I just mentioned it. A few minutes ago. I don't. It's like 2 weeks apart, I believe. There's the Harris chain, and then the next event. I'm not sure if it's Sam. Yeah, it's 2 weeks. So there's just no way, unless, of course, I lodged with somebody or stayed with somebody. Maybe I'll stay with Garrett or something like that. I don't know.
Halfway.
You could, totally. Like, I could do that, and that's certainly an option. But I life on the road, man. I don't really enjoy it on extended versions like that. I love it in little kind of like smaller chunks. I kind of learned a lesson that way. So yeah, to answer your question, there are some events I look at and say absolutely flat out of the question. So we'll see what it does with the spread between Hobie and bass. We'll see which ones I can make and which ones I can't. But there's really no pressure. I'm not obligated to fish any of them or all of them, and that's really the beauty of it. I can sort of pick and choose, and I really want to do as many as I can.
So none of your sponsors are like, we'd like you to see you in the Hobies, or we'd like to see you do some bass or anything like that.
Well, to be honest with you, yes, that actually de facto did happen and was discussed. But I mean, I don't feel any contractual pressure or anything like that. I mean, on the Hobie contract, I know they would like you to fish as many as possible, and have some expectations, but no, man, I'm not under any, 6-figure contracts, unfortunately, where, I'm obligated thus and that way.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. Let me just tell you.
Yeah, it'd be nice to just be able to fish and not have to work, but
well, I mean, it's funny because I am in that position. I mean, sometimes when I'm feeling down and bad about things, I'm like, well, hey, wait a second, man. You do have some cash, you got some savings. You're doing this. You're right. Making some income, and it's kind of it's not certainly how you thought it was. It's certainly not the whole dream, but it's pieces of the dream, and it's really freaking cool. And it's really good to look at to look at it positively that way.
Do you feel added? I'm sure you do. I'm saying this, but like whenever you're at national events, do you feel added stress from sponsors to perform, or stay around for that second day whenever you sucked it up on day one?
I would never leave. I might throw a fit. I might throw a fit on that night, or like tell Maria pack it up, we're gone. But I mean, I would, she's like, you're full of shit. She's like, yeah, you always say that. I couldn't possibly do that. No, and any pressure I do feel is all self-manufactured. Right. If anything, my sponsors are so cool. They got me no matter what. They believe in me. They send me supportive texts. If anything, they walk me off the cliff. So
very cool. Sounds like you're aligned with the right companies.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I mean, could you? Well, unless I was getting paid a hefty chunk, man. Yeah. Other than that, I wouldn't take anybody's crap. If they gave me some crap about a bad tournament, I'd be like, you do this shit. Come on down here and spend a few days and show me what you got, homie.
Right.
A lot of people hate. The people that hate, they're sitting on the couch nonstop.
Yeah, your check ain't big enough to tell me what to do that much.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Is there one event that y'all? What's that one event next year y'all are looking forward to more than any of the other ones?
I'll let Garrett talk.
I've got a couple of them that I'm really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to getting back to Guntersville after that one I had a couple weeks ago. The Harris chain, I felt like I figured something out on Harris chain last year, and the weather blew in, and I completely changed my game plan, and it bit me in the butt, and I had a really good day too when I went back to my original game plan. So I'd like to get some revenge on that one. And then I'm really looking forward to, I hadn't been to Logan Martin, but I'm really looking forward to Logan Martin and getting on some of those Coosa River spots.
Yeah, it's about 4 hours for you, right? It's not too far.
About 4 hours. Yeah.
I'm from Biloxi and I live in Birmingham, so
I
kind of know your area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Logan Martin should be good, especially earlier in the year. I mean, it's going to be very similar to the event, the bass event. And fish that one, but it could be a lot of rain, which really affects it. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Last time
very transitional that time of year.
Yeah. Last time there was so much rain where I was at got blown out after phenomenal pre-fishing, and then they opened the floodgates and they shut off in my area, and that was one in the lower section. So
right.
Yeah, we'll see.
When's Logan Martin this year? When is that?
April, I
April?
think.
Yeah,
April,
I
like
think.
April, late April, right? End of
March,
April.
April, something like
Oh,
yeah.
it's at the end of March and early April.
It's earlier part of the year. I don't have it
March
right here.
9th.
There
When
you
is
go.
it?
March 9th and 10th.
Oh, so it's early March. Okay.
Yeah, so it's early March.
All right.
So it could be like pre-spawn.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
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 Will that be
That's
pre-spawn for Logan Martin right then? This early March is pre-spawn still?
I'm guessing. I guess it
It
depends
should
on what
be.
it is.
yeah. It's going to depend. There might be smack dab in the middle.
Yeah, there might be some spawning, but it's if I had to guess, it'd be mostly pre-spawn.
Yeah.
If
Well,
I had
there-
to choose one person, Chuck Wise, I'll say it right now, that guy's going to win it. So I know he listens, so it's my buddy. Hey, we had an event this year, my Iron City Kayak Anglers. We fished there, and he destroyed us all the same time of the year. So he's so good on it that he posted that video on YouTube. He took down that video. So you can't find it on YouTube now.
That's a bummer. I get all my good research from YouTube.
He showed some juice, huh?
Yeah.
He took down his own juice. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was sitting as soon as they announced it, I was watching it, going back and watching it. So,
right.
I don't fish like he does, so yeah.
That's cool. We all have our own ways, I suppose.
Yeah,
definitely do.
I'm looking forward to the Harris Chain for sure. I think that's a great place to have a kayak tournament. Just great water, great scenery. A lot of it kayak conducive. I'm also
it's so big.
It's so big too. A lot of
and early in the year. It'll be different.
Exactly.
This time should be all spawning, right?
Probably, yeah. I don't know what the moon phase is going to be.
It might be pre-spawn.
Man, moon phase is dictated. Obviously, some weather can have some influence, but for me, I got to see if I can get out of my driveway. Sometimes I can't even get out. My kayaks are in the alley, so like if the snowplow comes down and like there's ice or something like that, I literally might not be able to get out. So sometimes I'll put like Duke is kind enough to let me put the kayaks in the shop there for like 2 or 3 weeks just in case a snowstorm's coming.
What's ice?
I was actually down at Harris Chain that time of the year in like 2013 for a Bass College event, and day one we did okay. Day two we went into this canal, which everybody's going to be in canals that time of the year. We went into this one canal and it's like 5 of the top 10 boats were in there. It's like we had went in there during pre-fishing. It's like
that'll happen.
So close, yeah. And then watching the video later of them doing it, it's like, oh,
yeah. It's funny how you'll a lot. There's some tournaments where like the top 10, everybody's doing something completely different all over the lake, and it's cool to see those because it's like, okay, well, that just goes to show you can just about do anything that's your strength. You just have to figure out where that's going down. But there are definitely times where 4 out of the top 5 will be fishing in a little circle of each other. And it just, works out that way sometimes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Harris Chain big time. Last year was a lot of fun. So
it's just a fun place to be, and we get out of the upper Midwest, nasty weather in January,
and gives you a good chance to go catch a big one.
Oh,
yep,
for sure.
You have a good chance catching your biggest fish of the year during that week.
Yep.
Or Ewing, not Owen, not Nolan. I'm sorry. Hey, he won it this year, right? Ewing.
He's
yeah.
On
a patch of grass with Jordan Marshall right next to him.
Small area.
Yeah. I think that's a sore subject with Jordan.
Yeah,
I think it is.
Totally. It's like a total reversal of the season. If Jordan gets those big bites and wins the Harris Chain, or Ewing doesn't, and falls to 10th or 15th or whatever, however that works out. It's kind of crazy how at the end of the year that stuff all boils down to a few casts here and there.
Yeah,
one fish here and there. It's like, gosh, you just. it's so damn cliche, but you just have to just do whatever it takes to just fire away till lines out.
One person gets lucky and figures out, and the other person's like, really, that's what it was. And it's like, well, it just happened, and I figured out that was the deal. So it's the little things.
Oh, that's what's interesting at this level of competition, because everyone is so close. And everyone is trying really hard, right? Yeah. So there isn't like these big variables and like, well, I'm just a weekend warrior. Everyone's pretty much coming to a Hobie or a Bass event
Yeah.
to throw it down.
Totally.
You know, so the differences are just so slight. You know, it's just like you woke up and you decided to drink an extra coffee, and that's what made the difference.
Right. Yeah.
You
You
know,
turn left, not right. You know, who knows?
Well, left, not right. Probably a little more, a little more consequential than maybe the diet that Smitty was talking about. Although that's pretty important too. But man, those launch decisions, those late night, do I want to turn off the hotel light and go to bed, or do I want to look at this map a little bit one more time? And those left or right decisions, so to speak, are huge. They're huge, certainly. Where to launch, how much time to spend in your area, and things of that nature, for sure.
What do y'all think is the biggest thing that separates the weekend warrior from like the talent level of y'all versus
Well,
someone on y'all's level versus someone who's trying to make it to your level?
Well, I think that's the easier question to answer because in my opinion, it's time on the water. It's time on the water and experience, because this person has the weekend. I mean, that's great in of itself, but doing it sort of full time, spending 250 days on the water. I mean, dude, it's hard to even describe or even tell somebody what you've learned. I mean, it's hard to even absorb it yourself. I think the more interesting question is what separates the people that Smitty is referring to, man. The talent level is not separated by a lot. I mean, of course you have some hammers that stick out in our space, like people like Russ, et cetera, et cetera. But, what is that? What is that separation between people that are pretty much really close, to one another, or practically equal in any given tournament? And I think there's a lot of variables. I don't think there's any really one answer. But of course, your attitude, your mechanics, your preparation techniques, and your execution of that preparation, your ability to adjust within the hour or within the day. Your decision, a huge, and I know I'm starting to say a lot of these things now, but there are a lot. I think a huge one for me is the adjustment from day one to day two, if there's one to make. Like, I mean, I can make them, but sometimes it's a little late. Sometimes it's not exactly what needed to get the big bite, but adjustments from day one to day two, I think, are really big. Kind of like halftime adjustments in the NFL level with teams that are pretty equally matched. I mean, that's when coaches really come into handy. So I think that's a big one.
Right. And I think a lot of it is, once you spend enough time on the water, you start to learn that like the fish are not always biting. So you might not be doing anything wrong.
Totally.
And, a lot of times it's like once you've kind of dialed in a little bit, like what you feel like's working, is to have that confidence that this is what I feel like is my best shot to get bites. And at some point, this is what's going to work, and not getting spun out and tying on everything in the box going, well, I wonder what they're biting. I mean, they might not be biting anything, and just sticking in the water that is good water.
Yep.
And sticking with the baits that, is eventually going to get the bite. Make little tweaks on, the retrieve of your speed or how long you let something sit or something like that, or they may have moved from the front of the dock to the back of the dock. You start to learn those little things. But, for the most part, I think that's really what makes like people like Russ as good as he is he's not out there just doing off the wall crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Got his arsenal of stuff that he is good at. He knows he can get bites, and he just breaks down the water, and he just puts his head down and he fishes, And
one of the things
pay out.
One of the things I think that separates like the weekend warrior guys or people who don't necessarily hit the national level stuff as much, they might only hit one or two, is confidence. Because everything that you guys just said is 100%. I have confidence in going out and fishing this way and finding the fish. And I think that's what really separates it gives the weekend warriors, once they have some success, turns them into, I think I can, I know I can, I'm going to go do it. They start making those commitments to those longer drives.
Right.
Where they might not originally
have that success to build that confidence. And until what you're doing works out and you get a little success, you're always going to be second guessing yourself until that happens.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Are
really.
there any?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to just finish that by saying, I mean, kind of summarizing what you guys have said is, really the difference between kind of thinking about something and actually doing something is just a little confidence. And, sometimes it's just that little taste of success that kind of leads to that, that bigger realm of confidence for sure.
Right.
Whether it's somebody that's just getting out on this is going to be their first year, they're going out to a national trail, or somebody that's been doing it for a while. Is there some kind of road trips you would tell people, like, don't stay at Holiday Inn, or I don't know, whatever it is. Like, maybe it's money saving. Maybe it's money saving tips. Maybe it's doc talk. Don't listen to the guys in your house, or what?
Oh, well, I mean, there's so many of them. I mean, you just mentioned so many different interesting. We could have a podcast on one of those.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean,
I know I can't listen to other people. It just
Doc Talk is probably something universally you should just kind of let go in one ear and kind of out the other. I mean, I think so. I mean, if you're really kind of on edge and listening to what other people are saying, that's probably because you're not confident in either.
Or you learn to pick out the clues in the Doc Talk and not don't pick everything for this is what it is. But there may be like little things that you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna look into that.
Totally.
Not the whole thing that they're doing, but like
between the lines of their conversations, for sure.
All the small things that you kind of start to pick up on.
You had mentioned, Dan, you had mentioned money saving tips and whatnot. Food prep is a big one for me, and Smitty mentioned diet. In like terms of what I mean, that's not something I blow off. Like the diet, I think is kind of important. Food prep for me is important. I'd rather prep my own food and kind of be prepared that way because I enjoy it better and it suits my body better. And then you wind up saving a ton of money because, of course, dining out on the road is awfully expensive. But that's also a big part of it. There's some great places to eat, so sometimes you don't want to miss out. I mean,
that's what I'm looking for. If I go out of town, I'm looking for the restaurant.
Totally, man. Garrett and I have shared some pretty good eating experiences, but I often write about it. I often find that that's one of the more enjoyable parts of the whole experience. Finding a hidden gem or a great restaurant or some great food. Dayton, downtown Dayton, where we just were with the Hobie TOC. I mean that. The Mexican food at Dahlia's is pretty good, but the barbecue at Momo's is fantastic. And as far as recommending, like you had mentioned, as far as recommending road trips or certain places, for me, for a person like me, growing up in Chicago and in the northern places where just getting around regionally, there's some iconic lakes and some cool places, but really, it wasn't until like 5 or 6 years ago that I first started venturing way down south into the deeper south, into places like Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi. That's really cool too. That's for me, like geeking out with Bassmaster magazine as a kid, but growing up in a city like Chicago, I mean, that was like fantasy land, getting down to some of those iconic lakes. But really what I would recommend for people are trips out east. To see old America, like getting to Ticonderoga and Cayuga and the Susquehanna River. You had asked previously what we were looking forward to in the schedule, and I think bass is coming back to the Susquehanna River, if I'm not mistaken, next year. And I'm kicking myself. I'm kicking myself for missing it this year. So I'm looking forward to that because there's some really cool veins, if you will, of travel. Out east, it's just old rock, old country, old America. I really like it.
I thought about doing a family trip with that one. Like they come up and fly up, and then I drive back and go to Hershey and good stuff.
I mean, I know I'm talking to a Southerner, and I know we have some Southerners here. But one thing I just want to add about that it's not terribly related, but I do want to add. I think it's important. Growing up, there's so many stereotypes about Southerners. The way they're depicted, the stereotypes, the accent, just that whole thing that you get when you're from one region of the country. And in my experiences, man, dealing with the people down there has been nothing but a good thing. The most politest, nicest people in the world, totally defy the stereotypes. Politics, of course, they exist, but by and large, they're put aside. People just kind of focus on what's important to them locally. And it was really cool. It's been really cool interacting with that slice of America for sure. So, when you talk about things like recommending road trips and whatnot, it's dude, just have a smile, be nice, talk to people, listen to people, go in the local shops in the small places and like support those people and, listen, talk to them. It's really cool. Totally cool part of the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. We made a trip a couple years ago. It wasn't a fishing trip, but me and the family, we took our camper and we went all the way up the East Coast, went all the way to Maine, and then came back down like 17 days. And, it's cool when you get out to some of those areas and you start meeting people and how, running into people that are really nice. And you're like, this is not really what I expected. Or,
totally.
We went up to Maine and I'm like, these people aren't Yankees at all in Maine,
They, you go so far, they become something else. I was up there for 6 months.
It's just good characters.
Maniacs.
Characters.
Yeah. It's like it turned into country again once you got, really above New York.
Yeah.
I would advise don't come through my part of town. When you're making road trips, just avoid Chicago. I don't really have many kind things to say about the drives through Chicago. I mean, if you want to stop and spend some time here, world-class museums, restaurants, it's a world-class city without a doubt. But man, drive through. Just go to Wisconsin, go to get to La Crosse or wherever you're going. Just otavoid Chicago. It's not a pleasant place to drive through.
I avoid Chicago at all costs.
Yeah. Totally. If Ohtani goes to the Cubs, y'all have even more people coming.
It's going to fill the bleachers. I don't think they had a problem with that to begin with. I don't think that's a championship piece. I mean, I know he's like 2 players in one, but they're better off getting some bullpen or another starting. Just different stuff, man. That guy's. What if he gets injured? Then it's like $1 billion.
Half a billion. Yeah, gone.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
So how do you, I think this is something I miss out on whenever I'm pretty hardcore. Like I get focused in a tournament. Like I miss a lot of the hang. How do you, and some people are all about the hang. Like they want to go out to the bars and hang out. And if I were 22 again, I would be doing that.
Well, not maybe. If I was 22, I would definitely be the derelict out till 5, shrugging off 24 beers and probably winning tournaments. Guaranteed, because that's how it was when I was young. Now,
how do you find the balance? Yeah,
there's no balance now. Now 2 beers, I'm tired. Now after like 2 or 3 beers, I'm like yawning. There's no way I could even get drunk because I'm like passing out before that. Maybe we'll have like Marie and I like to celebrate with like a beer, or maybe a one with a couple over the course of 2 or 3 hours with dinner or something like that. But during the tournament, alcohol for sure not. I had an interesting talk with Garrett too. I think it was with Garrett. I think we ran into each other somewhere. We were talking. But last year, I made the conscious decision to actually kind of chill in a hotel with myself or like with my wife and just the dog, and just sort of like get out of a lot of information, get out of a busier zone of a lot of talk and a lot of interaction, and just sort of kind of have that sort of peace like that. And I really found it beneficial. There is certain doc talk you do want to kind of be around, because if people are going to be, talking about what did or didn't work for them, those are pieces of the pie. But for me, I like to just do my own thing. And it added to a lot of consistency this year. I probably fished as consistent as I ever have. I still didn't get that big, check, but that really not the point. Consistency is what you want. That angler of the year is what you want. I think if not for some supercharges, but by people like Jackson and Ewing, I was right there. I was 6th in angler of the year with a kind of a chance if other people faltered, but that's what you want to do. Be consistent as a tournament angler.
Yeah. I usually mix it up throughout the year. My family will go with me on some events and it'll be kind of just us, we'll do dinner when I get off the water and stuff. And, I might see everybody once during the week. And then other times I'll, stay at the house with everybody. So, I kind of mix that one up a little bit, but
sure.
Usually by 10 o'clock, it's still time for bed.
I usually try to plan like 1 or 2 nights where I go out and have dinner with my friends.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's like my social time at these events.
Yep.
That and at check-in, right? Because when you're sitting around at check-in, you're seeing everybody, you're talking. Right. But there's certain guys that we all know that, like Dusty said, they're out drinking till early hours in the morning. And they're still doing the tournaments.
More power to them, man. That's just I couldn't handle it. I mean, I know all about enjoying yourself out of town at the bars with a few drinks, but it's business. I mean, it's business for me. It's a business trip mostly.
Yeah. All right. You got anything else for him, Kurt?
One thing. So what is your guys' least favorite thing about traveling to big tournaments? Least favorite.
Man.
I know it's kind of negative.
I don't really have a lot of things that I don't like about it, to be really honest with you.
Yeah, there's some things that get in my head, like, because right before the tournament, I get real excited. I'm like, heck yeah, dude! I get pumped, and the ride down is always usually real kind of joyous, actually. I guess when gas prices were like over $4, that kind of sucked.
Mine are still over $4 because I drive a diesel. So.
Oh yeah, I mean that started to get like really like, oh man, is it really going to be that much in gas? God, that kind of sucks. There was that. Leaving Chicago, going down to some places, there's really not a lot of good places to stop and eat until you get like 8 to 9 to 10 to 11 hours away from Chicago, and you can get into some interesting local stuff because I don't know. So that's kind of one of my least favorite. Some of the food options, aren't great. They're like fast food mostly.
I think you just talked bad about all Ohio, Kurt.
Well, somebody was ranting. So hold on, I gotta take a stance here. Somebody was ranting and raving about Skyline chili. I thought it was garbage. So I was like, wait a minute. I thought this was supposed to be like really, really good chili. It's like Sbarro
it's not
Italian
chili,
food.
man.
It's terrible.
Everyone who comes out of town who gets Skyline, they're expecting like regular chili, right?
I guess
Beans,
so, yeah.
onions.
That's what I was told. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing like regular chili.
soup.
It's totally different.
I don't know. I guess
How about you,
Chicago's
Kurt?
known for its pizza, whatever.
For me, it honestly is food. I just hate when you have those long drives and you're just eating garbage food all day. When you're driving all day, a 12-hour day in the car.
Yeah, that's no good.
You try to bring food, but that only gets you through 6 of the 12 hours.
Yeah, totally. How's that sandwich?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's it for me.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I pull the camper a lot, and like that really cuts down on what we can go eat. Like I have to get on Google Maps. And I'm like, all right, what has a big parking lot next to it, or something like that. So that's always a challenge.
The ride back is a little different. Of course, if you had a better tournament, the ride back's typically better. But regardless of your standings, usually you've been grinding for a week or close to it. And the lower back, I despite a lot of like stretching, a lot of activity, it's still kind of a drag. So the last thing I want to do is ever ask Marie to drive or make her drive, but sometimes she's simply got to take over the wheel for 2 or 3 hours, and I'm just so grateful because literally, I'm like I can't really couldn't do it. Could like pull over and sleep for a little bit or stretch it out or something.
Yeah, so
I guess actually, really for me, it's the drive back, man. If I have to work on Monday, and it's a 2-day tournament, I'm driving back from Eufaula or something.
That's like unsafe.
9-10 hours.
That's like unsafe sometimes.
Oh yeah.
I have found myself nodding off on several occasions. Never fell asleep at the wheel, but definitely getting that eye shut for half a second. You're like, whoa.
Yeah,
I've definitely been there. So that is absolutely. That's like the more serious part. That's not just something you kind of don't like. That's just something you gotta sort of be aware of and be safe of. It's always safer to just take a nap for a little bit. Be a little late.
All right. Well, we appreciate y'all being on, and want to give you a chance to shout out any sponsors, anybody that makes fishing easier for you. Garrett, how about you, man?
Yeah. So I got Dakota Lithium is awesome to us. Stormy really takes care of us on batteries and lodging in a lot of places. Dugout Bait and Tackle is new for me this year. I've always got online and ordered stuff from them anyway, and they've always sent it to me quick. But this year I'm on their team, so I'm really looking forward to that. Hobie Eyewear picked them up this year, so that was some glasses that I already like. I love their glasses, and so it was a nice fit to be able to promote them. And then I've got Gorilla Grip gloves. Has been some really good gloves for me. And then other than that, I'm just trying to rock the YouTube channel.
I watched your videos from the TOC, man. Great channel.
Thank you. Yeah, it's finally starting to get a little, traction. A lot of people that have seen it have given me some really good compliments. So it definitely keeps me going because it's not always the views that you think that your content is worth. But when the people that have seen it are like, hey man, it's really good, you're like, okay, well, eventually it'll get there. So
what's the name of your YouTube channel?
It's
for
Garrett.
everybody. Okay.
Yeah, but it's something I enjoy doing. When I get into the tournament mode, I kind of it's nice to be able to sit there and talk to that camera. And
oh man, for sure,
you're not out there by yourself, so it's a lot of fun.
Cool.
I threatened I was going to give it a name, but I hadn't done that yet.
Nah.
Yeah.
How about you, Dusty?
No, thanks for having us on tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk. I mean, I could sit here and talk for hours for sure. You know me, but I just like to thank everybody in the kayak scene, everybody along the national trails, everybody that participates, everybody that's listening. Of course, the people that support me, my sponsors. Of course, Garrett and I share a couple sponsors there in Hobie Eyewear in Dakota. Great people, great products. Of course, a big shout out to Catch, big shout out to Hobie Fishing, AFCO. Just a wonderful little space to be in, man. Great little community.
It really is.
Cool.
The community is really where it's at.
It is, man. I mean, I know sometimes people roll their eyes at that word, but it's absolutely true and real. So it's neat. It's neat.
I just went back and fished a boat tournament with a buddy, and I don't ever want to go back. Like you show up, you're in a boat by yourself, you fish, you weigh in, you leave. It's like there's no community. It's totally different. I really do enjoy kayak fishing.
Oh, that's something that's crazy about like the group that we fish with. I mean, you can run into somebody at a ramp that you somewhat kind of know, and it could be a 2-day event. You're at day one, and they just crushed them, and they'll sit there and tell you like all kinds of stuff what they were doing because they're excited about it. And it's not like everybody's trying to like cut each other out or keep like these huge secrets. There's enough mutual respect that nobody's gonna go get on each other's fish, so you don't feel like that need to really
I shared 9-pounders with Rolando this past TOC.
Yeah.
And I basically, we were basically just kind of like hopscotching the point, but man, he made me a believer in live scope. That's for sure.
That dude he is lethal with it.
Well,
for sure.
Not him. I mean, of course. I mean, I'm not a non-believer at all, and there's no hesitancy whatsoever. As soon as I get it on, I want to learn it as best I can. I'm looking forward to that opportunity, but. I guess more accurately, the straw that broke the camel's back is kind of what he did because I needed that fish. I needed that fish. Now it was almost within my reach. It's a great story. It'd probably take a half hour to tell.
He had big fish at a tournament, right?
That was of the whole tournament. Yes, yeah. I think it was Yakker. The checks were by the day. It was big bass of the day.
Oh, okay.
So. He got it for the overall tournament, which wasn't awarded because he got it for the individual day. Day 2, he caught it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, we appreciate y'all being on, and we'll see y'all again next one. Thanks for listening.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.